All right, we're starting early. Jackson, you ready to go? Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to
Unmuted.
go.
All right, here we go. I accidentally hit the button. All right, we got the HawgBeat Hoop post-game show. Arkansas just fell 77-64 to South Carolina. I'm still here at Bud Walton Arena. Eric Musselman's currently doing his post-game press conference. He got down there quick, as far as I can tell. Disappointing, Jackson. Fell to 1-4 in conference play. I just look. I missed 2 games. I was on vacation. I watched a little bit of the Florida game. I know that was a really disappointing game. I didn't even get to watch the Texas A&M game, but I mean, you could feel the energy after that, just all over on social media, online, even before this game. You know, the crowd wasn't huge, but you were hoping that you could have some momentum. We knew South Carolina was good, but I mean, they hadn't really played a ton of quality opponents, and they come in and they just really dominate Arkansas from start to finish. I mean, give me your thoughts, Jackson. You're the basketball guy. Everybody wants to know what you think because to this point, you've been right about this team.
Uh, you know, it's one of those situations where unfortunately I was right. I was kind of hoping that I'd be wrong all season, just because it's more fun from my end as an objective journalist to cover a better team. And I know fans have more fun watching their favorite team be good. But I do my best to report things as objectively as possible. This team hasn't impressed me all year. Texas A&M, the first half, really the first 16 minutes was really, really good. Played with a lot of energy. Things looked different offensively with, more motion, more passing, more zip on the ball. Defensively, they guarded screens differently, more of a hard hedge, and just effort in general helped a lot against Texas A&M. The entire second half and the final 4 minutes of the first half, that all changed again. It was same old Arkansas doing isolation, playing bad defense. So I was concerned going into this game a little bit too, based on how that game finished. It wasn't a great win, but it was something to get, Arkansas, the players, the coaching staff and fans like, okay, they saw a win. That's good. And Musselman talked about getting their swagger back, all that sort of stuff. South Carolina is a dangerous team. They presented matchup issues. It's a different style. They play a slower pace of play. They did a really good job tonight in, utilizing their pick and pop, pick and roll, and really just moving the ball in their half court sets as well as they did. And honestly, they just attacked Trevin Brazile and whoever was in the post for Arkansas. They just kept going at BJ Mack and Josh Gray, both inside. And it worked out for them. I don't know how Trevin Brazile or Chandler Lawson or whoever's supposed to be guarding BJ Mack lost him multiple times in the first half for him to get open threes. He was 3 of 3 from the perimeter at one point. But on this game as a whole, they just never played with any energy whatsoever. There was a lackadaisical performance. Bad fundamental basketball on both ends of the floor. And it just showed in the final score. It was just bad.
Yeah, so you mentioned Brazil, and this obviously is a common talking point at this point because this is supposed to be your guy, supposed to be your projected first round pick. You just look at the box score. Uh, you're looking at the plus minus. He was minus 16. That's the worst on the team. Uh, Joseph Pinion got in at the end. He was plus 2. Shout out Joseph Pinion. Mekhi Mitchell also plus 2, and I think those were the only guys who had a positive plus minus. So, yeah, all around bad game. But let's talk about Trevin Brazile though, because where do you go from here? Not only with him, but just down low in general. Because I mean, how many minutes did Jalen Graham play? He didn't really play a whole lot today. 6 minutes from Jalen Graham. Where do you go? Where do you go down low? Because you're not getting it from Brazile. You obviously didn't get it from Graham. And you talked about the 2 bigs from South Carolina, especially BJ Mack, a guy who did Arkansas end up actually hosting him? I know they were supposed to host him for a visit. I can't remember if he was on campus or not.
I'll have to look back at all the portal stuff from last year because it all runs together with who gets a visit and who doesn't. But BJ Mack was a player that Arkansas was in really close contention, was in a good spot to land him. I think if they really wanted to, they could have. I could be wrong on that, but I remember them pushing pretty hard for him, and he showed out today. But looking at the question you just asked about, Trevin Brazile, about the interior, I don't know, honestly, so offensively, I think what you can do is, and I've said this multiple times, offensively, I think you need to run Trevin Brazile on a true pick and pop, like stretch four. They've been, and Musselman has even said this, they're trying to develop him for his NBA role, which is one of those hybrid forward wing kind of guys. So improving his ball handling ability, his ability to score and shoot off the bounce and take guys off the dribble, just fine. That doesn't help Arkansas at all this year. They're going ISO too much as is, and he hadn't been able to facilitate and create that much out of that role. Offensively, I think you help and open up a lot if you put him back in that pick and pop, pick and roll sort of lineup or role. Defensively, he's never been a great interior like isolation defender. He makes up for a lot of his, I guess, lack of size, like physical size, with his length and his ability to block shots. He's good at recovering and making up for mistakes. But when you make enough mistakes, a lot of them are going to get highlighted. And he's been guarding on the perimeter a lot more this year too. He's been getting beat off the bounce, so that's kind of had him at an inability to make up for those mistakes with the shot blocking. Even though he is still blocking shots at a decent rate, but it's not making up for him getting beat off the bounce, him being taken inside one-on-one. I mean, any decent college post right now could score on Trevin Brazile isolated in the post. He's just not playing good defensively in the post at all.
Yeah, so that's something I'm curious if Eric Musselman is going to get asked about it, because it's a situation where you kind of have to dance around that, but at some point when you're not getting enough from a guy that you should be getting almost double from him every night, and you're not getting that from him at all right now. So I'm going to turn on some highlights here as we talk. Obviously, not a ton of Arkansas highlights to watch from this game, but let's get to a question from Twitter. Justin Blair, he says, can we talk about the lineups? Since the last half of last game, starters haven't performed outside of Tremont Mark. Your thoughts, Jackson?
Yeah, and to add to that, I mean, that Justin's comment is completely right. I mean, the starters haven't shown out. LL has played okay. I mean, I thought he played well against Texas A&M for the most part. Had some turnovers, didn't shoot well from the field, but I think that was a game that he needed as far as trying to get him going. I've been saying all year that Musselman needed to let guys play through more mistakes. He let Ellis do that against Texas A&M. He scored, but other than that, yeah, Justin's completely right. There hadn't been a ton of production from starters. Saw that again tonight. Super inefficient. Devo had 8 points, but he was 3 of 13 from the field. Ellis had 9, but was 3 of 9 from the field. We already talked about Trevin Brazile, Chandler Lawson. Again, I don't want to just get into the whole like reading the box score type thing, but those aren't impressive numbers. They aren't efficient numbers. And, I've thought it was, I don't know. After Texas A&M, he's like, okay, Musselman said, now we're going to shrink the rotation. You see what it worked here. We shrunk the rotation. Guys are figuring it out. We're going to move forward with a smaller lineup. And then in the first half, 12 guys were on the floor. Dennis J. Harris saw action in the first half. And I guess, to some degree it's, well, no one's playing with effort. We have to find something. But also, I wonder how much of that is still like panic subbing or like early yanking that just kills guys' confidence. And, that could be an issue too. But as far as rotations in general, Leighton Blocker got 2 minutes in the first half today. Don't understand that at all. Just opinion, didn't get any minutes till late. Did we even see Bay Fall tonight? I don't think.
No. That's what I was going to ask you about. So in a game like this, so obviously Arkansas is getting beat down low a lot. And we talked about Brazile, at length at this point. We all know the Makai Mitchell situation. You kind of really don't know what you're going to get out of him, but you can't really rely on him a whole lot. Jalen Graham also hit or miss. I mean, what is it going to take for Bay Fall to play? I don't know if it. I know he's a freshman, but you tell me. I don't know. I know a lot of people, at least on our message board on HawgBeat.com, are like, why not give Bay Fall a shot? Especially in a game like this one where, Trevin Brazile's not playing a whole lot, and even when he is playing, he's not giving you a whole lot. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, no, I honestly don't know either. I mean, we're looking at the same coaching staff who played Leighton Blocker 15 plus minutes for 7 straight games. Then out of nowhere, he sat for multiple games, and we really don't know why. Gets extended minutes again and puts up career highs, and then gets sat again immediately after that. So I don't know. It's very puzzling. The rotations this year have been atrocious, honestly. They've been inconsistent. They've been very bad. I don't think anybody has a good reason why Bayfall is not playing right now. I mean, what reason can you give right now to say that Bayfall shouldn't get at least an opportunity? Oh, well, he's not as polished. Okay, well, you're more polished, more veteran guys just gave up above averages to BJ Mack and Josh Gray again. Josh Gray put up 20 and 14 last year on the Razorbacks. He's averaging like 2 points, 2 rebounds. He had 6 and 4 in very minimal playing time today. So what reason is there for Bayfall not to play? You can say he's not polished. He's still raw. But at the end of the day, he's a McDonald's All-American. He was a very highly rated recruit. He has great size and length, and he's going to play with a ton of effort, and he's athletic. You know, he might not be the most graceful on the court. He might not be the most polished offensively, but at some point you've got to try him. I mean, we all know the accolades. I do not understand it at all.
Yeah, I mean, so we got Garrett is saying blockers lack of minutes is strange. I feel like that's kind of a known thing by this point. I don't know. It's not like Layden Blocker is a star freshman point guard, but what we're talking about is some of the rotations aren't working. Guys are so inconsistent. Rotations are inconsistent. You got to find some sort of consistency. I don't know if Layden Blocker provides you with it. Go ahead.
Here's my thing on the whole Layden Blocker situation. Okay, so he plays really well in a 7-game stretch, and he has some issues. Like he's trying to offensive rebound more than he should, and that's hurting the transition defense, whatever. But Eric Musselman said every single time in the press conference, Layden Blocker gives us A+ effort, A+ competitiveness every single time, and that's the one constant with Layden is his effort. Okay, great. And then at some point in the losing streak, Eric Musselman says this team lacks any sort of competitive fiber. And then Layden Blocker's minutes vanish. When the team is lacking a competitive fiber and the guy that he says the constant with him is his competitiveness, he vanishes. And then he plays really well against Florida. He and Joseph Pinion both play really well against Florida. And Musselman even said in the post-game press conference that Joseph Pinion and Layden Blocker will play in the next game, will have an increased role. And immediately following that, I think Joseph Pinion either recorded another DNP or barely got in, and Layden Blocker just played a few minutes. So it's not just the lack of minutes; it's the lack of understanding. Because you want to take what coaches say at face value when you talk to them in these press conferences. You want to believe what they have to say, but that sort of those inconsistencies just don't add up to me.
Okay, so I've got Stab Broadcast pulled up here, and we can just talk through some of this, Jackson. But first, I want to remind everybody that we are brought to you by Bet Saracen. That is the official mobile sports gambling app of the Saracen Casino Resort. I am a user of Bet Saracen. Obviously, I would not bet on the Arkansas Razorbacks as I cover them, but we do our HawgBeat picks for every single game. This game, I picked the Arkansas team total under 72.5. That did hit. As you can see, Arkansas only scored 64 points. So make sure you're checking out those stories. We always break down all the Bet Saracen lines, odds, player props, specials, everything. Shout out to Bet Saracen. Sometimes our advice pays off. Sometimes it does not, but today it paid off. So make sure you're checking out those stories and check out Bet Saracen. Big thanks to them. I didn't like a lot of the player props for this game, by the way. I don't know if you checked them out, Jackson. I felt weird coming into this game because South Carolina was that team, 14-3, lost one game in non-conference play. They'd only played 4 conference games, couldn't really tell a whole lot. But I feel like this game might tell you a little bit more about Arkansas than South Carolina, right? Just as far as like South Carolina is not this super incredible team. Like their numbers were not incredible. Really, the only thing that stuck out to me was their scoring defense. So they held Arkansas to about the average that they had. Everything else was not crazy. I think you said it would have been a quad 2 win, so now it's a quad 2 loss. That's why I say this game tells you more because South Carolina dominated Arkansas. So and we're talking about South Carolina as a maybe middle of the pack SEC team. I mean, you tweeted right after the game like, okay, let's be for real. Maybe not a tournament team for Arkansas. That's where we're at now. I don't know. They showed the graphic during the A&M game. I took a picture of it. on the SEC network. The start to SEC play in 2020, 2021 was 2-4, finished 11-1. The next year started 0-3 in SEC play, finished 13-2. Last year started 1-5 in SEC play, finished 7-5. So right now you're sitting at 1-4. Does Arkansas have the ability to go on a run like they have the past 3 years, Jackson?
I mean, theoretically, sure, they have the ability to do so. I highly doubt that they will. And look, I even tweeted out afterwards, like, yeah, it's not they're not going to be an at-large NCAA tournament team, and I feel very comfortable saying that right now. And it's more than just the results so far. It's more than just the 10-8 record. It's the way that they've looked in those games and the losses, especially. All the metrics being down across the board. They're going to take another big hit here, and the net being atrocious. So you look at all of those. Technically speaking, Arkansas could win like every game remaining on their schedule and make the NCAA tournament. Sure, they could win. But they're 1-4 now. I mean, theoretically, they could win 10 of their final however many games and make the NCAA tournament. I don't see that happening. You have games. You just lose to South Carolina at home. You almost let Texas A&M come back from 20 down at home to beat you. You go your next games. You go at Ole Miss. Kentucky comes to Bud Walton Arena with College Game Day, which I'm sure fans are really excited about College Game Day coming now after losing at home to South Carolina. Then you have
that's one difference between college football and college basketball. That college football would have announced where they're going after this game.
Right.
Because imagine being the ESPN executives and being like, Arkansas just got beat by how much by South Carolina at home, and that's where we're going next weekend. Not that, like, I mean, obviously Bud Walton Arena is going to be incredible, but it's kind of, and we're going to keep talking about the game. Kind of weird to go to a team that's 10-8 and 1-4 in conference play. Keep going, Jack.
I thought the same thing, but I didn't want to catch too much flack. I already catch a lot of flack.
I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it.
I'm excited for it too. I think it'll be a good environment. It's Bud Walton Arena, but at the end of the day, I think it's more coming for the fact that it's Bud Walton Arena and the fact that they're playing Kentucky more so than anything to do with the Arkansas basketball product on the floor this year. Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe people will come at me for that, but I think it's more to do with they're playing Kentucky and it's at Bud Walton Arena than anything else. At Missouri, at Louisiana State, Tennessee, you still have Tennessee on the schedule, and you close the season at Kentucky and then Louisiana State at home and then at Alabama. There's a lot of tough games down the stretch, and I just don't see any way Arkansas wins 9 moving forward.
Why do you keep saying Louisiana State?
That's
nobody calls it Louisiana. It's LSU, bro. Nobody calls them Louisiana State. Okay. Here we go. Let's get to some questions because look, let's face the reality of the situation. Here's what Jeremiah Davenport said after the game. There was a lack of effort. When asked about the lack of effort, that's a good question. I don't know. So I feel like there's a lot of I don't know going around, and if you're an Arkansas fan, you don't like the phrase I don't know. And so there's also Eric Musselman doubles down on it. This team has to play harder. We all see it. Those are courtesy of Will Whitson, new HawgBeat.com employee. Very excited about adding him to the team. So check that out. Check out HawgBeat.com. Jackson, before we get to some questions and wrap this up, because we don't want to last too long, do you have anything else, analytical stats from today, performances that you want to point out or that you feel like it's important to talk about? Because I feel like we hit the big ones. I really do. Maybe Caleb Battle. I mean, he played, but where has he been? Keon Minifield, we thought that he was going to save the season. What happened with him?
Yeah, no, those were the two I was actually about to bring up. You look at their minutes. Caleb Battle played 5 minutes. Keon Minifield played 2 minutes. Don't really understand that, especially if you're going to go 12, 13 deep, however deep Musselman went tonight. I don't understand how you limit those guys as minutes, especially when, like, look, no matter who you play on this Arkansas team, the defense just isn't going to be good. It hasn't been good all year, no matter what rotation, what lineup, whatever they've tried, the defense has not been good. So why not put some offensive weapons out there like Battle and like Minifield to kind of help score the ball? I mean, 64 points at home is borderline inexcusable. It's definitely inexcusable in a loss. But it's just, I don't know. I'm truly at a loss.
I keep thinking about, when you talk about the defense hasn't been good all year, your immediate thought is, okay, well, why is that happening? This is an Eric Musselman coach team. Like the thing they've hung their hat on every single year that he's been at Arkansas is the defense. That's at the very least that this is going to be a team that's going to hound you and play good defense. And so it's like, well, what's going on? Eric Musselman. Well, a lot of people have asked, I think this team just doesn't have identity. But then they keep hearing they practice well. It's not translating to the court. I mean, we could sit here and talk about what happened. Did they not recruit the right players? What exactly is going on? They have the players they have, and they got to figure it out. And so let's get to some questions. Here's Clinton Williams on the YouTube as a leader of many men in my lifetime. The dude is inconsistent as much when it comes to how he utilizes players. At some point, you lose everybody because there's zero trust. You think there's anything to that, Jackson?
I would buy into that, yeah, because, and I've mentioned this many times too, and we touched on it already this post game. The whole issue with, taking guys out immediately after one mistake, not letting them play through mistakes. You're not letting players grow in any normal way like that. Like the way that you don't commit mistakes in basketball is by making them and realizing that you shouldn't do that, or just learning from your actual mistakes rather than, oh, I'm going to play looking over my shoulder because I'm worried to make a mistake and I don't want to come out of the game. Because what happens then is you're not looking to create anything, you're not looking to make anything happen in the game, you're just playing not to make mistakes. And so you have a lot of guys playing scared, and a lot of guys have zero confidence. And when you have guys that are playing scared when they're on the court, have zero confidence in their own abilities, then you have what we have tonight, a lot of lack of effort and no real playmakers.
We've got some more live quotes flowing in from Eric Musselman. I'm not sure if he's wrapped up his press conference or not yet. Another one here from Will Whitson. This is from Eric Musselman. Will Whitson just tweeted it. Muss says, I'm used to having really competitive groups that are super connected. So we have to try and help this group as much as we can going forward. I mean, that it's pretty simple and basic, but it makes sense. Like the coaching staff is just going to have to continue to get in and work on this. I remember after the Oklahoma loss, I think it was, he said that the entire staff was in on Sunday. You remember back after the battle for Atlantis when Muss was, watching all the film on his own and clipped it all individually. Like it's going to take that type of stuff, I think, to figure this out. Let's continue with some of these questions and comments. Joseph Kelly on the YouTube. How does Musselman conceive of Davon Davis playing meaningful minutes, if at all? I think that's another one. I don't know how much we've talked about Devo on this, but 8 points, 3 of 13 from the field, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 for 4 from 3. He's senior. I feel like you need more out of him.
You definitely need more out of him. I think what Muss is trying to do is, with this team not having found an identity and still not playing with effort, he's trying to find somebody who has been a part of that culture, who's won a lot of games, and who has played with a ton of effort in the past. And Davon Davis, theoretically checks every single box there, but his performance this year has been lacking. So maybe it's Muss hanging on a little bit too long at this point. Who knows? I mean, that's up for debate. I'm not going to take a stance on that right this second, but I think that's more of the mindset for like a minute standpoint. Is he's been a part of this program. He's won a lot of games, and he was the catalyst to some of the biggest wins in recent program history, and Texas Tech and Kansas and all that sort of stuff. So maybe that's the reasoning behind that.
Let's keep it going here. From Jameson McFadden. Who was y'all's biggest disappointment in today's game? I mean, like, I feel like it has to be. Well, no, there's so many you could choose from, but I mean, I just think you need more out of Brazil, man.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Brazil
you
continues
can
to be a
choose any
disappointment.
player, but Trevin Brazil easily because he came into this season as first team All SEC, potential SEC Player of the Year, potential lottery draft pick, was like consensus first round, trying to play himself into the lottery, and then in 25 minutes he has 3.6 rebounds, and that's it. You need more. You need more, and it's not even that he didn't produce. It's that he didn't do anything. He took 3 shots today.
Well, here's the craziest thing about it too is I remember specifically at the beginning of the game watching him and thinking, he looked fresh. He looked like he was about to have a good game because he had a bucket early. Maybe he had the first bucket. I can't remember. And then he had at least 3 rebounds by the first media timeout, and he ended with 3 points and 6 rebounds.
Yep.
So you're talking about the entire last 35 minutes of the game. He had 1 point and 3 rebounds.
Yep.
You just can't have that, especially when the game was competitive at one point. I think back to the second half, Arkansas cut it to 7, I think, at one point.
Yep.
And the crowd was into it. That was really the only time all day that the crowd got into it. And Drummond Market had just hit back-to-back threes, and then South Carolina went on a 15-3 run. That reminds me of the you remember the Alabama game last year when Arkansas cut it close and then Bama just went on a run? That's almost exactly what happened today.
Yep.
All right, let's go to one last question here. It's going to be from Uncle Truth on Twitter. Is Muss's seat going to be hot next year if he performs poorly again? I'm assuming you mean like if they go out and lose to Ole Miss on Wednesday. I'm going to say no. No.
If you're talking about like another poor performance this year for his seat being like starting next season off hot, I'm going to say no. But if you're talking about like a poor full season next year and then being on the hot seat, I could say potentially, yeah. Because, last season wasn't all that impressive at all until the NCAA tournament and making the Sweet 16. But, you can say injuries and all that sort of stuff. That team still had a ton of talent, should have been better than it was, but still made the Sweet 16. And, when you have a fan base who hadn't seen a Sweet 16 in 26 years and they go to Elite 8, Sweet 16, that regular season for that Sweet 16 team last year, you can kind of say, okay, injuries, we got some health back towards the end of the year, still didn't have Trevin Brazil, still made the Sweet 16 and beat another number 1 overall seed. But if you missed the NCAA tournament this year, come back and miss the NCAA tournament or get bounced round 1 next year, then going into the year after that, I could see him potentially being on the hot seat just because, fans are fickle and there's going to be probably a good chunk of fans who, if that's the case, they're not gonna sit around and wait for it because it's always what have you done for me lately kind of industry.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we need to be talking hot seat with Muss yet. I think that Arkansas is just in a lull right now. Whether or not they figured out this season, I mean, I don't think hot seat and Eric Musselman are two phrases or whatever you want to call it that need to go together right now. So let's wrap this thing up. For those curious, Layden Blocker was just dribbling the ball around on the court. I don't know if he was shooting around. I wasn't really paying attention. But there you go.
He's looking for the minutes that he was supposed to get.
Yeah, he's finishing out his 40 minutes for the day. Want to thank Bet Saracen, the official sponsor of HawgBeat and all of our podcasts, our live shows, everything. Thank you to Bet Saracen. Definitely go check them out. Go to the app and make all your bets there. As I mentioned before every game on our website. Here we go. You can see it right here, HawgBeat. Jackson, can they see my screen?
Yeah, they can see it. You're scrolling up and down right now.
Here we go. Here it is. Look, if you would have gone to this story, HawgBeat's pick, you would have made some money today, okay? So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're checking out Bet Saracen every single time. Okay, wait. Stop sharing. All right, here we go. So, yes, Bet Saracen. Thank you so much. And also visit HawgBeat.com. You're not going to find better Arkansas athletics coverage in general, but specifically basketball, baseball, and football. And I know a lot of you out there are excited about baseball, excited about the Diamond Hawks podcast. It's coming back. Baseball. We got our trip going to Arlington in February. So, but yeah, Jackson, the vibes are really low, man. The vibes are really low, but Arkansas has another opportunity on Wednesday against Ole Miss to get it figured out. So appreciate it, everybody tuning in. Make sure to keep doing this throughout the season. We really enjoy doing this, enjoy bringing y'all coverage. So check out HawgBeat.com, check out Bet Saracen, and check out our personal pages as well. If you haven't noticed them, it's scrolling at the bottom, our Twitters. So